Welcome back, troglodytes, to your daily dose of guitar information, the Trogly's Guitar Show. Hey, I got a new light installed. We'll see if this makes my videos look better in here. But today, we need to check out the Jimi Hendrix Signature SG. Now, we did the review and demo on the Flying V, so we kind of talked about some of the history and why these things exist. And there was a lot of hate for this run because people felt that Hendrix was mainly known for the Stratocaster. Why are you doing Signature Vs and SGs? Now, the Vs, I understand. I'm completely behind that because the Isle of Wight Signature V is one of my favorite Flying Vs of all time. Now, on this SG, okay, I'll agree with you guys. It was a bit of a stretch. I'll never forget that first day I saw this photo of Jimi Hendrix using a 3-pickup SG Custom, and I was like, whoa, I would have never guessed that. And I'm totally on board with you guys saying that this one, you know, it's definitely priced for a collector, not necessarily a player. And the only reason why this thing costs $10,000 is because it has Jimi Hendrix's name attached to it. But that's okay. I'll spend the big bucks so we can look at these guitars just for fun, so you don't have to. But if we're being honest here, Gibson really doesn't reissue the 67, 68 style SG Customs very often. So if it has to be a Jimi Hendrix signature in order to get that to happen, I guess there could be worse things to happen in the guitar community, right? So first off, I'm noticing this is kind of unlike any other case I've seen from Gibson before. It's got more of a textured feel. Usually when they look like this, it's a completely flat. We've got JHEXP right here for Jimi Hendrix Experience. And it says, handle with care. Let's hope that the shipping company knew to do that. Oh my. Yeah. I was kind of unsure about this one at first, but now that I've seen it in person, it's... the color that they've done here is interesting. It's like a banana cream color. But holy cow! I'm sorry, Murphy Aged Labs guys. I think you went too deep on the finish checking on this one. Like, I can see literal gaps in the paint. Oh my, oh. I'm kind of speechless on this one, to be honest, but I did get serial number 67069. I mean, listen to this. You can't do that with normal finish checking. If I didn't know better, I would think that this guitar was like cracking apart. Man, I don't even want to touch this thing. That's how scared I am of it. SGs always creep me out. I always think they're going to just break apart. Oh, yeah. I don't really know how to feel about this one. Okay, but that's enough about the finish checking. Let's talk about what they at least did, you know, well here. I like the headstock. They don't have too much finish checking going on, and the finish checking that they did put on this one, that actually looks pretty nice and aged. They've got the nice yellow clear coat binding over top of it. They did a considerably better job aging the pickup covers on these than they did on the Flying V, in my opinion. And you can definitely tell they did a little bit more attention to detail here. So I think we're still working on the whole aging phenomenon, but as a guitar itself, 3-pickup SG Custom with the bat wing guard, that's pretty darn cool. And the interior of this case, it's pretty cool too. So just like the Flying V, they stylized the lid cover after what he was wearing in this particular show. And if it's anything like the other one here, we actually have a little photo of it. This time it's in color. I think that's the coolest touch that they did with all of these. And just like the Flying Vs, they did 150 of these guys, but there are no left-handed versions because his was not a lefty. He just played his upside down. So instead of rocking it like this, he just strung his backwards and just dealt with all the controls, I guess. But let's go ahead and throw this one on the workbench and take an individual look at its parts and specs. And then I actually have a celebrity guest to do the demo of this one this episode. So I'll see you on the other side. Alright, inside the Jimi Hendrix SG Custom, famously used on the Dick Cavett Show. Apparently on September 9th of 1969, so this guitar was fairly new at the time, being a 67. So what we've got going on underneath the hood here, so to speak, is we just get a giant swimming pool route under here, and look how long that neck tenon is. Like, that's longer than most long neck tenons. I haven't looked inside too many 60s SGs, so maybe that's just how they are. But knowing how weak some SGs can be at the heel, that is very reassuring to see that. Now it looks like they've got some stuff that they could have cleaned up in here if they really wanted to, but everything is finished over. And you get these routes for the legs on the pickups. Now speaking of the pickups, these things are actually kind of special. They're marked Custom Shop 68 Aged. So this might be a unique pickup just for this particular guitar. On the website, it's listed as a 68 Custom humbucker. And let me tell you, having 3 of these things loaded onto the guitar makes this pickguard really heavy. But as far as the readings within the circuit, it's 6.79 k ohms for the neck position. Your bridge pickup reads about the same, 6.78. And the middle position is 3.42. Now you might be curious, why is that so different? It's because it's actually these 2 pickups that are on at the same time, and it kind of gives it a slightly single coil-esque tone. I really like 3 pickup Gibson guitars because they cover a lot of tonal ground. Now some people will wire these up so you can actually just blend in the middle pickup. I like it just as it is. It's a little bit more simple. So I was kind of glad they didn't change anything there. But I do want to take a second to point this out. I can appreciate the fact that they made the top loading output jack all rusty like that. But as far as the vibrola unit itself, here's what it looks like when you take the cover off. The cover itself just has a lyre/harp type thing. It says Gibson, it's all etched and engraved there. It would normally be gold, but they've worn it off, as you can tell there. And this just secures to the top of that, utilizing 4 screws on the side, on either side. These little tiny things are a pain in the butt to get back in. And then the unit itself secures by 4 screws and then 2 right here. Now normally, when you find the Maestro Vibrola looking like thing here that doesn't have the plate system down here, it'll have 3 screws. So just know, if you ever buy a vintage Gibson and you want to take this thing off, you're going to be left with 6 holes on the top. But this thing just slides on top of that bar, and when you bend it down, the metal moves and you just hope it comes back. The best way to use these things is just for a tiny warble. You don't want to do big dive bombs and stuff, or else you're going to have some real tuning instability. It's always a good idea to lubricate your nut and your saddles and all that stuff. But speaking of our saddles, what kind of makes this interesting being a late 60s instrument, just like that Flying V, we've got nylon saddles, which are period correct. And this is a Gibson ABR1 bridge. And that sits on studs that drill directly into the body, but it's kind of covered up by the pickguard here. As far as the knobs go, we get witch hats. Super cool. You also have the little pointer thumb bleeders that are rounded off, kind of historic style. And as far as like nicks and dings from the aging job, it looks like they only do some like right here. Everything else is pretty much just that finish checking we're talking about. But here you can really see, you know, the difference between looking straight on and from the side. Like, I hate to dwell on this because, you know, Gibson, I like them. I like what they create. I enjoy making videos about their products, but I want them to improve. This is not acceptable in my book. This might have been somebody's first aging job because what they've done is they've literally taken their knife and cut into the finish when they're just supposed to, like, score the top. For example, on the headstock here, you can just see these light scratches kind of going by, trying to create that faux finish checking look. Whereas this, you know, if I didn't know it was a brand new guitar that was aged, I would probably be scared that this thing's going to crack apart. Because that's what it feels like just looking at it, like it's going to crack apart. So I really hope they work on their aging stuff, because in the photos, I thought these were looking pretty good. I was hoping these videos would be like, hey, you guys did a good job on this. But these guys rock mahogany bodies with mahogany necks and ebony fretboards, just like a Les Paul Custom. You get these mother of pearl block inlays, looking pretty sweet here. It also has kind of a vintage patina and vibe going on with it. And it looks like a nylon nut on this guy too. As far as neck specs go, 1.67 inches at the nut, which increases to 2.06 by the 12. First fret neck depth, 0.83, so fairly chunky, I would say. Yeah, that rounds up pretty nicely, 0.95 by the 12. It definitely has like that D-shaped neck profile to it. You can feel the shoulders back on these areas, and then it kind of slightly flattens out, but not completely. So if you like those D-shaped necks that are a little bit chunky, for an SG anyways, I think you'll like these. As far as the truss rod, this is what it looks like stock from the factory. It reads Custom on the truss rod cover itself, and it looks like they've seated the rod just slightly past the nut. As far as the rest of the headstock, they've got like that natural VOS dust stuff going on, but they did a much better job on the finish checking up here, so I'll commend them on that. The headstock looks pretty darn good on these things. They've even got the aging on the tuners. And the tuners do feel nice. Vintage waffle backs, they're pretty much garbage by this point in time because they're just never tight anymore. You always have to replace almost every single set. But it's a shame because they look so cool. There we go. We've got it all put back together. Let's check out the back side of the instrument now. So this has got that same finish checking stuff going on pretty much all over this guitar. Now if you're turned off by the finish checking, I have seen some examples that have significantly less, or maybe it's just the particular lighting that that dealer had. So there appears to be some variances of how they age these things, but our back cover is pure white. It actually has like a little bit of staining to it, like maybe Hendrix had something on here at one point in time. But our wiring job looks pretty nice. You can smell that freshly sprayed lacquer scent once you take that thing off. It just looks like 4 Gibson branded pots all wired up in the traditional fashion here. Now, I think it's a little bit silly that they went as far as finish checking the inside control cavity. But I guess they're thinking it would probably look silly if they didn't. Kind of a catch-22 here. If you don't, people will yell at you. If you do, people will yell at you. But our strap button right here at the base of the heel, one at the bottom of the guitar. And moving up the back side of our neck here, you can see they also did the same finish checking phenomenon. But here you can see the back of the waffle back tuners. Gibson, please, put these on something in Gibson USA, because I think these are the coolest looking tuners ever, and they look great on like black guitars. That'd be cool to have like have a limited run of 50s Les Paul standards in an all ebony finish, and they use these tuners. Yeah, I'd pick one of those things up. But all these start 67 because it is a 1967 Gibson SG that they're reissuing, and then you get your number out of 150. I got number 69. And it looks like we got a couple of nicks and dings up here as part of the aging process. So there you go. The Hendrix SG, aged in all of its glory. I sure am glad that I know this is a brand new guitar. Otherwise, I would think there would be something wrong with this heel joint. But they even went as far as putting all that finish checking and stuff on the sides, except for right here. That's what's kind of strange about this one. They just kind of stopped right there. All said and done, this one weighs 7 pounds, 6.4 ounces. Let's go ahead and let Jared James Nichols show you guys how this thing can truly sound. You can check him out on YouTube. You can buy all of his songs online. I'll put some links in the description. can tell Jared made this thing sound fantastic, but how does it sound like if you're just an average Joe like me? Let's find out, starting with our neck pickup. I like it, nice and juicy. Now we'll try that middle position. Love that so much. Okay, so all in all, what are my final thoughts on this thing? You know, cosmetics aside, this is actually a really nice feeling and sounding guitar. I find that this, you know, kind of pseudo D-shaped neck profile really suits my hand really well. Like, it fits really comfortably when you're trying to play chords and whatnot. But when you need to do more solo work, it's still nice and chunky. You can still get a grip on here. So maybe not for super fast shreddery type stuff, but if you like the blues and whatnot and you need some grip, I think you'll be good for that. I will say, you know, stock from the factory, the pickups are way too high for my own personal preferences. I would lower those way down, because I was finding that I kind of needed to try to pick in between the pickups or like right over here over the neck. And the problem with doing that is I usually like to anchor on the bridge. So I guess if you're an anchorer on the side, you wouldn't mind that. But if you like to palm mute by the bridge, yeah, you might not like these style of instruments too much. The vibrola, I mean, it stayed in tune about as well as I thought it was going to. There's always some slight tweaks that you need to make with these things, but that just comes with the territory of having this beautiful little vintage style tremolo on it. So ultimately, would I suggest you go out and buy this for your new #1 player? No. This is a collector's piece. I mean, if you just want to play an SG that looks like this, you could really just go and buy the real deal. But if you just want to buy a collectible guitar that you don't have to be scared to play, I guess in that aspect I would suggest it. You know, at first I was kind of turned off by this weird finish checking stuff, but once you plug it in, you stop worrying about the cosmetics and you just start to enjoy it. I would say I enjoyed the SG more so than I did the Flying V, if that means anything to you. But I think that's just because this is, you know, completely different tones. However, the Flying V is still really cool. I like how lightweight and resonant it is. It's a slightly way more iconic guitar than the SG is for Hendrix. And the neck profile, if you just like that really rounded C neck shape, you're gonna like these things better. So troglodytes, I hope you enjoyed checking out the new Jimi Hendrix $10,000 a piece guitars with me this month and the last month. We're just having fun here on this channel. If you're new, feel free to subscribe. I post guitar content daily. Thank you for tuning in today. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and we will see you tomorrow on the next episode. Take care.